here at the Creative Africa Nexus as an opportunity to be able to sort of participate in a few panels about the creative industry. For me, as YouTube, of course, we're leaning to making sure that we're a platform that can put a spotlight and promote and elevate African artists and creators. And for me, I also sit as part of the Afri-XM Advisory Board on the creative industry, so it's great to be also here as part of in that capacity to be able to participate in these events. You know, just had a music industry sort of panel and roundtable that I thought was really, really amazing. And being able to think with my fellow participants, how can we really make sure that we are continue to do work to fuel the growth of the music industry in Africa that is now seeing incredible success, not only within the continent, but also globally as well. For us, we tend to focus on what the opportunity is that we have, right? For instance, we launched our Global Black Voices Fund, and we made sure that we extended it to Africa so that we can help African creators and artists and shine a spotlight on them to be able to elevate and grow them on the platform. I think for us, there's always going to be sort of the macro challenges that we're also always trying to figure out how we manage, i.e. the penetration of internet usage on the continent is also one of those things that's a challenge. However, the reality is that more and more people are coming online every day, so we have to look at the opportunity rather than focus on what the challenges are. We're geared for it as Google to be able to make sure that we're investing in Africa. We just announced $1 billion investment into Africa to sort of help spur growth across a whole bunch of ecosystems. So we're excited as a company as Google to be in Africa, to support Africa's growth, and at the same time make sure that some of those challenges, hopefully through our partnerships, we're able to address. I do think that one of the challenges that we have on the continent in terms of being able to have a lot more people online and experiencing content and viewing content, whether it's for entertainment, whether it's for education, it's really been that data can be very prohibitive, right? In a continent that still, we still have a lot of, from an economic standpoint, there's still gaps that we have on the continent. So again, the cost of data is really a huge driver in terms of what we're seeing in terms of the number of people coming on the platforms. Yes, the growth is still incredibly steep, and we're seeing a lot more people on YouTube, for instance, coming onto the platform to experience content. But the reality is that we can see more. And I think over time it will happen. It's a natural sort of progression of things like data costs, or, I experienced it before when I was on the paid TV side, but the cost of paid TV subscriptions were real high. And as it decreased, the more people subscribe to paid television. I think the same thing is true when it comes to digital, right? The more the cost of data comes down, the more people are going to be able to participate in this digital economy that we all talk about. And so I think for me, it's going to be a huge opportunity for African creatives as well. Once there's more and more people that can view their content, experience their content, and also learn from them, how to be better. There's always going to be an appetite to be able to create local platforms. I think that the real power and the strength of sort of what you see the global platform deliver you are, global audiences. And I think that's really, really important when you start looking at the economics of being able to sustain and grow revenue for creators that are global. The reality is that I think that Africa should be participating in the global economy. If that means building your own platform that you take globally, that's great. But I do think that we have to prioritize in a lot of ways what we want to do next. I work for Google and I work for YouTube. The reality is that we already have a really, really powerful platform and product features and products that really, 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 really are enabling to Africans. We need to continue to improve those products, but at the same time make sure that Africans can access those products, which is when I spoke a little bit earlier about the cost of data, some of those things that we will continue to work and partner with the providers to make sure that we are providing opportunities for them to see the value of this content, of this stuff, being able to reach even more people. Take advantage of YouTube. For us, we not only have the YouTube, what we call YouTube main, we also now launch YouTube Shorts. Shorts is it's a great platform for what we have in the continent, a lot of which is mobile content creators, right? So if you're the next generation, which you are, probably the young person I'm talking to right now, that wants to create on mobile and wants to upload on mobile, wants to experience the content on mobile, YouTube Shorts is another opportunity for you to do that and be able to reach even more people. And it's a product that we've just launched and it's growing. And I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity for us to be able to get even more and more African creators onto YouTube.
I've been in the business for 37 years. Content Connect Africa I've been with, did a buyout in 2012. It is a hybrid of a music distributor, aggregator, record label, and all 360 services to artists and musicians. But recently we launched our own TV channel, which is content from the continent that includes music, lifestyle, movies, shorts, and it's with emerging content creators. I've been very involved from the outset of my career with local content, South African content, being very blessed to have worked with the Lady Smiths, the Miriam Makebas, the Lucky Dubes, and what was then, some of the principles are very similar in terms of the music industry, but the delivery and format of the way you receive music has changed substantially. What I have seen evolve more on the digital side is that artists are earning less, they have to sell more in order to earn, but also the industry has become driven by independence. It's very much an independent, even though there's room, as we spoke in this forum, for major record labels, you will see that the independents right across the continent are driving. Few and few artists are signing major record deals because because of digital, they can now create their own careers and brands. Our experience being, because we're involved with mostly independent artists, with the advent of digital and streaming, there are a lot of different parties involved, right? So there's an aggregator, there's a platform, there is obviously all your copyright collections, there's mechanicals, and a lot of the emerging artists and the established artists don't understand all the players in between. And what we are trying to do is to narrow that gap of the number of people involved. In the old days, you would sell a CD and you know how much you would earn for a CD. Say, whatever your royalty rate is, you would get 10%, 20%, or whatever your deal is. With streaming, it's very difficult because you're streaming all over the world. So you could be getting 0.002 cents, which may be American cents or Nigeria, Naira or Kenya. And when you translate and you start getting those reports, artists don't understand that it's minimal in terms of their earnings unless they are doing millions and millions, as the Skiddo referred to, they're doing over 10, 20 million. So it's a challenge for artists because also in that case there are so many different percentages coming off. The platform takes this percentage, the aggregator takes percentage, the label takes a percentage. And if you are not fully aware of it, as a lot of emerging artists aren't, and a lot of artists themselves, even established artists aren't, even me, someone who's been in if I'm not researching and looking at these reports every single day, we would be, it's confusing and complex. And I don't think that we share that with the artists. We don't engage, we try to, but we don't engage enough with the artists saying, we need to understand how your money works and who collects it on your behalf. So it's very complex, and sometimes people prefer to keep it complex because it's easier that way. I make reference to a whole new model that's come about now by United Masters, where they are offering an artist complete access, direct access through their platform to the streaming services, and then their tiers change, which is very similar to CCA. We say to the artists, if you just want to use us as a channel to get to the DSPs or to the streamers, then we will take a small percentage of it to administer and get that content up. But if you want us to shoot your music video and you want us to do all the marketing, then we'll discuss a different tier. So the artist is always aware. So we've seen many artists really through digital, through YouTube, as Alex said, through social media, influencers, particularly during COVID, make a lot more money through streaming, but not as much as they should possibly earn because of the way we do reporting and who those people that take all of the different cuts in between. But yes, there have been artists that are successful. You just have to define success.
I think one of the things that was definitely discussed was how streaming works and how YouTube as a platform works. Obviously, from our perspective at Universal, we think that there are great platforms that now give us more opportunity, especially for African content, to be discovered than ever before. You know, if you go back to the days of CDs and cassettes when we used to operate, you needed a physical product to move from A to B in order for somebody to be able to buy it. You now have platforms globally like Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and more that allow people to upload music and for it to be available globally at an instance. Part of the debate was around whether there should be a local streaming service, and I think that's where there's a lot of conversation. And obviously, we support all kinds of platforms that allow for music to be consumed legally. I think that's the key point, right? As long as we're not talking about piracy websites, that there are great platforms. And if we're talking about creating another platform that focuses on local music, that's great. I think sometimes what Africa is not great at doing is collaborating around developing these kind of platforms. And I think, you know, platforms like CANEX allow for those conversations to exist. It's multiple countries participating. There are also financial institutions that could invest and could help establish something like that. If we look at what we've done as Universal, for example, we now exist in multiple countries on the continent. So we have offices in South Africa, in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Morocco and Ivory Coast, right? Which allows us to be more local and serve a local community rather than being in one location and trying to service the entire market. Also, in terms of exporting good content and good talent, you know, just even during COVID, we had 6 billboards in Times Square for African artists who were releasing their music, which means that we're getting better at taking music from the continent and getting people to hear, to engage and to consume that content outside of Africa. So I think there is progress. I'd like to see more African content globally on mainstream channels, and I think we're getting there. I think you're seeing mainstream radio, mainstream television is embracing content from Africa, whether it's music, whether it's film, and so forth. And I'd just like to see that happen even more.
Wonke ama-accounts akho afriziwe.
Sengithatheke isinqumo sokuthi ngikudivorce.
Uyabona ngenzeka ukuthi wena sushintshile kodwa sanenkinga yezidakamizwa ngenxa yabantu abafana nawe. Thathani le.
We are a provincial state-owned entity. We fall under the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, and we really have 2 key mandates. One is to promote the region as a destination of choice for production, and secondly is to really develop the industry so that we can service productions coming into the region. Film is an incredible opportunity not only to showcase the talent that we've got and showcase the most amazing locations in the province, but it also has a huge job multiplier effect. We've seen in all the productions that we've had, it's part of our funding conditions that you must employ locally, and we're starting to see job creation. It's almost doubled over the last 4 or 5 years. Not only that, through that job creation, those opportunities, those people are developing skills and are slowly graduating through the ranks in those productions, and we're starting to see our local crew sitting at senior positions in productions these days. The other area is obviously the SMMEs that get supported in the production, so your local catering companies, your tourism facilities, car hire, all of those local businesses are all getting those opportunities as well. So it's got a huge economic spin-off for the province. We do give priority to KwaZulu-Natal filmmakers and KZN-based stories, but we also welcome productions from all over the world and from all the other regions. We fund from documentaries to pictures to feature films to TV series. We really cover the broad spectrum of productions, and so the doors are really open for business in KwaZulu-Natal. Some of the exciting productions that we've had that have done incredibly well, in fact they've beaten box office records for South African productions, is Keeping Up with the Kandasamis. both number 1 and 2 did exceptionally well. We were able to recoup our investment in that. At the moment, we've got productions on BET called 7 Deadly Sins. This is a new category of productions that we introduced called Made for TV. This is really to provide a starting platform for emerging filmmakers to make productions of up to about 500 to 1 million rand, and those have been done exceptionally well. They had mentors supporting them through the development process, into production and now into distribution. So those are some of the exciting initiatives that we've had. I think the biggest challenge is, first of all, when filmmakers are conceptualizing their projects, they don't necessarily always think of the end target, their consumer target. They're wanting to tell their stories. And we need to try and change the mindset to say, what are your audiences are looking for? What do they consume at the moment? And let's develop content for that kind of content that travels, basically. That's one of the issues that we are facing. I think the other challenge is always the chicken before the egg kind of situation, where you've got a young emerging person who wants to access financing, but because of our funding structures, they don't necessarily qualify. So how are they going to qualify if they get given the opportunity? So there's definitely a gap in our funding policies, and that's one of the discussions we were having over the last 2 days, is how do we support those young filmmakers. I think it's also access to those distributors. If they don't come to an event like this, how do they access the likes of big giant of Netflix, or how do they speak to somebody like SABC, the local broadcaster? So we do try and provide those platforms through festivals like the Durban International Film Festival, to really make sure that our emerging filmmakers get access to distributors and to get their content out there. There's really been a huge uptake. We're seeing a lot of our products now going through to Netflix, for example, productions that we have funded, being very well received. We know that there's a huge appetite for African content because our stories are unique and they're authentic, and I think that's what audiences are looking for. The consumer shift to online consumption, we now see that there's such a huge opportunity for our filmmakers. So the time is right now, I think, for our African stories. COVID, as much as it really was devastating for the industry and massive losses in box office revenue, it's fast-tracked the use of technology and so many people getting access now to being able to produce content on a short form and getting it onto online distribution. So we see that this is a huge opportunity. We need to make sure that our filmmakers are equipped and skilled to be able to produce that kind of content. So the time is really exciting, I think, for the industry, and we see that it is going to be substantial growth, no doubt. You need to make sure you have great stories, great ideas, but maybe just do a bit of marketing, even if it's within your own community. Are people interested in that story? What do you need to shift to make that story something that they will want to go and watch? And really make sure that you spend time in the development stage, because if the script isn't well written, if you haven't thought about all the issues that you want to cover, you're going to face challenges in production. And I'd also then really encourage you to participate in all our training programs that we have. Find out from your local film commissions what support they provide. We're here to help you, and we really look forward to seeing what you can produce and putting it onto the screens.
Mimi kuzaliwa kwangu nilizaliwa mwaka wa 1925. Mimi hata sijui huko kwanza vibaya kwangu. Sasa wanasema ni mimi ni mchawi, nimewaroga.
We are a film fund that supports filmmakers from East Africa. And other than the funding bit of things, we also do trainings where we focus on the improvement of the quality of content that's coming out of East Africa, especially from the filmmakers. So we do masterclasses and workshops, and other than that, we also do screenings. We have 2 types of screenings that we execute in East Africa. We have the impact screenings, which we mostly focus on documentary films that we've done, both feature and short documentaries, but we also use short films to spark communications and discussions in the different communities that we take the films to. I think the biggest challenge that filmmakers are facing in East Africa is the lack of funds. And we actually came up with this organization because we are also filmmakers and we also understand the kind of challenges that they're going through. So we put in a lot of our work into supporting filmmakers from the industry, and to make sure that the quality of films that are coming about are great and improved. Some of the documentaries that we've supported have been doing very well in festivals. For instance, we have The Letter that was the official selection at IDFA, in 2019. We also have Softy, that was a winning documentary at Sundance in 2020. We have Thank You for the Rain, of course, that has been doing very well when it comes to the Kenyan audiences, or rather the East African audiences consuming it, as well as people in Europe consuming the films. So there's been a lot of improvement when it comes to local consumption of films, as well as the quality that is coming out as a result of the people that we are supporting.
When the rain fails, every farmer feels like running away.
Christine, what can you say about rain today?
No, I think when we look on the sky, it seems as if it will rain soon.
Are you happy with it?
I'm very happy with it because it's the mother of all living things.
As you can see just behind me, there's a film called Thank You for the Rain that is on climate change and climate resilience. We supported that particular film, and it focuses on a farmer in the eastern part of Kenya that experiences little or no rain. So we supported, we put in funds into it, and as a result of that, when the film was done, it's been doing a lot of impact on the ground. And as a result of that, of the screenings that we've been doing and the conversations that we've been doing and having on the ground and in the different communities that we have screened to, we were able to pull in funds that resulted in the building of an earth dam that serves over 300 families within that area. And other than that, we also encourage people who watch the film to also engage in tree planting activities. When we are doing, especially for our impact work, we put a lot of resources and a lot of logistics that we need to put in place in order to make sure that we maximize on the film that we're taking to the community. We do believe that film is a great tool to communicate and to also create positive change. So we basically select films, we curate films that would resonate very well with communities. For instance, like I've mentioned earlier, there's Thank You for the Rain that we are taking to arid and semi-arid areas, because these are the people that need to see such films in order to make a change in the community. Like for instance, practicing agricultural activities that are suited for their kind of weather or their kind of climate, planting trees, etc. We also have the letter that is trying to discourage, there's a lot of killings that have been happening around the coastal area, especially to the elderly people. So we're trying to also be sensitive with that and make sure that those killings no longer happen, because they become something that's really huge. We work a lot with independent filmmakers, and we are very interested in supporting the stories that they have to tell, because we have foreigners who are always coming into our continent and telling our own stories, but we want the stories to be very authentic and come from them and spread them to the rest of the world. And it's been very positive so far, and the kind of films that we supported have really been going places far and wide beyond the African continent. I think I've touched more on the impact work that we do, but we also have a commercial screening that's called Shots, Shots and Shots, where we screen short films from Africa, short fiction films. People come in their shots and we drink shots. So it's a fun kind of event where there's a lot of interaction. We're supporting a lot of young filmmakers from the continent, and it's a platform for more people to watch African films. And we're so fortunate to be having it here in Durban, a South African edition, where we'll be screening African films from every corner of the continent, so representing the whole continent. So it's really exciting to be here.